fact that his love is what? It's an open door. It's an open door. Because when he died for us, he died out of love, but he lives out for our freedom. He rose again for our freedom. So his love, when he went to the cross, it became an open door for you and for me so that we might walk in freedom. And this new series is all about the freedom that is the love of Christ, the open door that is available to us. Next Saturday, we have our reset experience, and I will not be afraid to unabashedly push it again. If you've not joined us in an encounter experience this Saturday, separate the day from 7 in the morning to about 8 at night to come and encounter God in a different way. I want to talk to you guys from the place of an open door. In my community, we have a security gate, and some of you guys are already familiar with Norman. We love him. We bless him, right? He's like the main dude there. And that security gate, how many of you guys understand that you can't get through the gate unless the door is opened, right? And in order for you to get through the gate, you have to know somebody to gain access. Yes? I mean, maybe you don't live in a community with a gate. That's fine. It took me a long time to get there. It's okay. But you have a door on your house, or you have a door on your apartment. And how many of you guys understand that nobody comes into your home or into your apartment unless you open the door, unless you grant them access? Are you hearing me? It ain't going to happen. The fact of the matter is, when we've got doors that are represented in our lives, you do not get past them unless you have access and unless you know someone. And Jesus' love is an open door for us to all that he offers for us. So I'm just going to call it just like an umbrella teaching today, if you will. I'm going to call today's message the doorway to freedom. The doorway to freedom. And I'm going to start in John chapter 10 as our central verse for today. John chapter 10, I'm going to read from 11 to 7, and I'm going to come back and go from 7 to 10. He says the following. He says, I am the good shepherd that lays down his life for his sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who is not the owner of the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf snatches them and scatters the flock. He flees because he is a hired hand and does not care about the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know my own, and my own me. Verse 15. As the Father knows me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. 16. And other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. Therefore my Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it back again. I want to pause for a moment before I jump into the other verse that I really want to hone in on today. And I want us to understand something. In verse 17, he says that my Father loves me because I lay down my life. And then he says something very interesting that we need to know. And he says, and I take it back again. I want us to understand something, that in Jesus is the fullness of all authority in kingdom and heaven and under earth. Are you hearing me? He had the power to voluntarily give up his life, and he had the power to take it back. Don't feel bad for Jesus when he went to the cross. He made a decision. He made a decision for you and for me to go to the cross. And when he rose again on the third day, he was exercising the authority that is like no other authority. So if you're going to try to get access to freedom, the freedom that Jesus has, know that he has the authority to open up the door to the fullness of freedom that God has in store. Are you hearing me? Verse 10 of chapter 10, verse 7 of John. And here's where I want us to focus today. It says, so Jesus said to them again, truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All those who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he will be saved, and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, but I came so that they would have life and have it abundantly. Jesus is the doorway to freedom. And in order for us to understand this, let's start from the words that he spoke in John 10, 7-10, where he says, if you come to me, you will be saved. Now, if you've been in church before, you have a general concept of what it means to be saved. We have a general understanding that Jesus died for our salvation. But have you ever looked up the meaning of that word saved? I did. I looked it up because I was interested. What does it mean to be saved? I mean, I know what it means to be saved, but what does it mean to be saved? And it's this word, sozo. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Jesus is the door to sozo. It sounds cool when we say it like that. Sozo. S-O-Z-O. Say it with me. Say sozo. Now say it with like a little bit of attitude from South Florida. Sozo. Somebody said it right over here. Sozo. Jesus is the door to sozo. When he says, truly I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All those who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he will be saved. He will have sozo. This word sozo means a bunch of things. The word saved, the way we traditionally use it, means salvation in Jesus Christ, the forgiveness of our sins, and that is true. But it means so much more. The word sozo means to be delivered, to be protected, to be healed, to be preserved, to be in a position to do well, and to be made whole. And I want to talk to us from that word of sozo. He is the door to sozo. What is the door to sozo? The first thing we learn from the meaning sozo is that he is the door to protection. He says that I am the door. In another version, he says that I am the gate. The gate is for what? Specifically in this context, he's talking about I am the gate, I am the door to the sheep. And he is referencing a biblical time, an Old Testament sheep pen. When we think about sheep pens, we might think about like local farms or whatever, like some chicken wire fence or some wood fence or something like that. But in the biblical times, in the times of Israel, that's not the way they were setting up their sheep pens. The way they would set it up would typically be to a 3 to a 5 foot wall of rocks that would be in the middle of an open pasture, and that surrounding of the rocks was the sheep pen. And that was the place where the sheep would go, and I'm going to jump ahead, to find rest and pasture. But the sheep pen itself was designed with the rocks or a really big thicket of thorn bush to be able to keep out the enemies. And the interesting thing about this sheep pen is that there was only one opening to the sheep pen. That was the door. That was the gate. And as fate would have it, the shepherd, whose job it was to take care of the sheep, when he brought the sheep into the sheep pen, would sit at the door of the sheep pen. And the shepherd would literally serve as the door. So as the sheep rested over the night and as the sheep slept over the night, the shepherd would sleep at the door because there was only one way in and one way out. Are you hearing me? The shepherd was the ultimate symbol of protection and deliverance. See, what the shepherd would do is after days of grazing, he would shepherd the sheep back into this pen in the middle of the open pasture to be delivered from the things that go bump at night, from the animals that would choose to feed on them, or for the thieves that would choose to profit from them. How many of you guys understand and know that there are people in your lives and there are situations in your lives that will choose to devour you and people that will choose to steal from you? I'm not just talking about monetary stealing, that's there, but I am talking about stealing of your emotions, stealing of your time. Are you hearing me? And he's the shepherd. He's like, y'all need to come in here because I need to stand at the door, because if you are my sheep and if you've heard my voice, I ain't going to let that happen. We've got to understand that he is a door to freedom. And how many understand that you can't be free if you don't feel safe? You can't be free to move around. You can't be free to be who you are and who God created you if you don't feel free in that space to be who He intended you to be. And He says that this boundary that I set around you, of which I am the door, will cause you to have freedom because you will be delivered and you will be protected.